The landlord always returns 300 yuan to the girl after collecting the rent, as long as the alliance is closed. He took the girl's clothes this time. He has rented a place not far away and can come back at any time. A disabled person selling guagua music happened to pass by the landlord and bought a card. "You are very good and know how to hang love." The disabled man is named Ah Liu. Due to an accident, he now needs his father's help even to take a shower. He is willing, but unable to reach the opposite sex. However, even so, he still sets his eyes on the long legs that just left the building and fantasizes about having some connection with them. All the landlords have seen this. No need to look. Will he come here every day? Not necessarily. Are you trying to cheat? How dare you take this? Looking at the landlord with a smile on his face, Ah Liu wanted to escape as quickly as possible. However, it seemed as if the heavens were laughing at his foolish dream and woke him up with a heavy rain. Ah Liu could only take shelter at the door of the public toilet. However, there was no privacy here. Ah Liu vaguely heard a couple in the public toilet. He couldn't help but move closer. The melodramatic sounds came one after another until the door was suddenly pushed open. Ah Liu came to his senses. Unexpectedly, the couple did not shy away from it. The movements of their hands became more and more intense, and they did not regard Ah Liu as a human being at all. From then on, this scene was deeply engraved in his mind, and Ah Liu's desire for the opposite sex became even stronger. He began frequenting public restrooms, pretending to sell goods, but in reality, he fantasized about becoming the male lead. However, a thug saw through Ah Liu's desire and deliberately played a joke on his girlfriend.
Ah Liu was indifferent to the laughter and just stared at the battlefield in a daze. After buying the guagua leho last time, Huangdong and Ah Liu became friends. He didn't want Ah Liu to suppress himself, so he decided to give him a gift. "Why don't you want a woman? He gave it to you again." I didn't expect that Ah Liu would refuse for a while and then pretend to be a witness. The landlord thought it was Ah Liu. He immediately disclosed the origin of the clothes and guaranteed that there was no disease. The landlord also said that he saw Ah Liu peeping into the public toilet that day. If you have any ideas in the future, remember to tell yourself as soon as possible and don't hide alone. It turns out that the landlord is a senior pervert who always uses cameras to spy on my privacy. If I don't have time to work, I want to go there to enjoy you.
These are my exhibition gifts. In addition to these erotic scenes, there is also a private shot of Ah Liu. You are really dirty. What are you filming over there? I didn't expect that the landlord is not ashamed, but proud of it. Every video will be uploaded to the website to seek violence. When Ah Liu thought about his hatred being made public, he was furious. "I didn't shake you. Do you think people will click in to see a card placed there? No. And how can you see it?" In an instant, Ah Liu's special fetish was infinitely magnified. He felt so ashamed that he could no longer face the landlord and could only leave the place in anger. As a result, when Ah Liu went out, he encountered a ray of sunshine and an angel who made him fall in love at first sight. It was his favorite hairstyle. He could never forget it after just one glance. So Ah Liu followed the other person all the way and finally came to a small store where he finally saw the girl. He spoke so loudly that the girl was confused. Seeing this, Ah Liu stopped beating around the bush and asked the question directly. "Does your boyfriend have a boyfriend? Who can tell you whether you have a boyfriend or not?" Ah Liu's confidence surged instantly. It stands to reason that if you want to pursue a girl, you must leave a token of love. He saw the torn betel nut in the girl's box and immediately took out a pack from his pocket, hoping that the girl would accept this love. But the girl was very stubborn and didn't want to owe him a favor. She would pay even if he chased her out. This action deepened Ah Liu's affection for the girl, and he became more and more fascinated by her. But the problem is, falling in love costs money. From that day on, he became very diligent and never missed a date, even if he was ridiculed by gangsters.
Until this day, landlord went to find Ah Liu to apologize and bought all of Ah Liu's goods. "Let him finish work early today. I bought them all. When they are heavy, I will take you out to play." I don't know why. Perhaps because of the landlord's words, Ah Liu suddenly felt a glimmer of hope. The landlord's originally wretched smile suddenly became extremely clear. Ah Liu found the meaning of life again. Soon, the landlord pushed him to the regular vulgar shop. Ah Liu was both happy and terrified. However, the reality was cruel. "Hello, you still come to play like this? Is it miserable and worthless?" Surprisingly, the landlord was quite loyal. If the young lady didn't want to serve Liu, they just find someone else. Liu was embarrassed, and the landlord landlord's patience wore thin. He even found her a woman in her 50s. She was very polite and never asked for customers, but once Liu arrived at the door, she calmed down considerably. She was younger. "You are not afraid. You are not afraid." This time the landlord lost both his wife and his army. Not only did he fail to help his good brother, he was also blacklisted by the club. But as a landlord named Lowski, he always had a way. He pretended to buy ice nut and held a saleswoman tightly. Lucy took the opportunity to touch her. Unexpectedly, the other party was not a pushover. She immediately called out Big Brother and scared the two away. At this point, the landlord had no choice but to use the last resort to get in. "Just tell him that Brother Wen asked me to come." This was Ah Liu's last chance. He was a little nervous before entering the house until he saw that familiar face. The other person was his goddess. The girl's smile disappeared instantly, replaced with a numb look. As the door of Julian slowly fell, the landlord finally breathed a sigh of relief. He thought he had helped his good brother, but Ah Liu in the house was bewildered. After so much effort to get rid of this embarrassing incident, Ah Liu gradually sobered up and started chatting with the girl. "What's your name?" Seeing that the girl didn't want to speak, he took the initiative to reveal his family background.
Ah Liu didn't feel like lamenting that such a beautiful girl had such a strange name. These straight men's comments ruined the original atmosphere. He didn't say anything more and opened the dog door. It was obvious that he was sending the guests away. However, Ah Liu was unwilling to give up. "Can I soak the noodles for a while?" There was no refusal, and the two hugged each other like a couple. However, happiness is always fleeting. After leaving the meat shop, Leo wandered around the streets for a long time and did not return home until the evening. Unexpectedly, when he entered the house, he saw a fat woman. Leo was bewildered. It turned out that this was the blind date arranged by her father. "I don't want to talk to her at all. I don't like her. She's very rude." "Yes, I am rude. I don't like you either." Leo's life has been controlled by others since he became disabled. After the tenderness he just had with instant noodles, he didn't want to be controlled by others in his last piece of emotional paradise. So after scolding the girl and sending her away, he had another argument with his father. Leo's soul-searching questions kept his father awake for a long time. His father almost ordered a whole bowl of Wenshang and drank a whole bottle of foreign wine. So he finally plucked up the courage to talk to his son about the problem that had been suppressed for a long time. The light outside the window flickered, just like Leo's mood at the moment. He didn't know what his father meant, so he simply stopped thinking about it. He escaped from home early the next morning and saw Pao Mian again. This time, he returned the underwear that the landlord had taken, but Pao Mian's reaction was particularly fierce. Pao Mian was completely devastated. Seeing the clothes being handed back to someone else, he felt like a tool, never respected. The landlord would throw them to Leo and then to the next person. Leo, completely unaware of Pao Mian's predicament, simply stood by, silently preventing him from venting his anger. Only after Pao Mian's hysteria subsided did Leo attempt to open up to him. "If you break my card, he'll be so tired that I can stop talking about it, okay? You see, I'm always the one being broken into." The tragic wail makes the two of them share the same problem. Leo no longer hides himself. "Sometimes I really want to hide. Sometimes hiding is quite interesting. Where should I go?" The two of them lined up and went into the public restroom. It was filthy and smelly. Only pitiful people like them, abandoned by the world, would stop here. Looking at various words written by the masters with random words, they actually felt a sense of belonging. There were also some words about hiring a killer to kill. A killer must have 3 conditions to kill: a commission, a target, and revenge. Without any of these 3, he is considered a murderer, not a killer. Looking at the serious instant noodles, Leo Renjan was not nervous, but instant noodles were not joking. From that moment on, the two lonely souls gradually connected. They returned to the meat shop and played like ordinary couples, blowing bubbles together, eating instant noodles together, and searching for the beauty that had long disappeared. Little did they know that all this was seen by the mentally retarded mother of instant noodles. Leo was startled and had to leave early. However, even this didn't affect Pao Mian's mood. He was used to his mother's behavior. Moreover, he had Leo now. Tomorrow was always worth looking forward to. He went to a high-end restaurant to pack some food for his mother. Ever since his mother went crazy, he had been inseparable from this restaurant's sorry instant noodles. He had to pick the fish bones by hand, mix it into meat paste, and mix it with rice. He fed it to his mother spoonful by spoonful at first. His mother was very cooperative.
But today, the mother is obviously upset. The girl understands that the mother can't stand her comfortable life and can't stand her being a widow. "Hurry up, you are not a dog enough. Get up and catch it." But this time, Fat Noodles was no longer weak. Under the confrontation, her mother dared not talk too much and also started to resist. She refused to take medicine and refused to obey the doctor's orders. Her mother knew that as long as she waited and threatened to die, Fat Noodles would slowly give in. This is an invisible filial piety. No matter what her mother cooked, Fat Noodles would always eat the worst food herself and leave the delicious autumn fish for her mother. On the other hand, Ah Liu ate very well. Today, her father was uncharacteristically ordered a large table of delicious dishes and kept picking up food for Ah Liu. It's only been a few days. Ah Liu was completely bewildered until his father pulled out a test report. It turned out that his father had been suffering from advanced cancer for a long time. He knew that he would not live long. He had previously arranged a blind date for his son, thinking that after his death, his son would have someone to take care of him. But his son rejected the other party and everything was irreversible. The father had made up his mind to kill Ah Liu with his own hands before he died to spare his son from the suffering of the world. Ah Liu did not resist. Since he became disabled, he had imagined countless ways of dying, and dying at the hands of his father was undoubtedly the most perfect. But before he died, he still couldn't let go of someone. Since he knew he was about to die, Ah Liu wanted to help Palmian kill the person he hated the most before he died. However, Palmian didn't know what Ah Liu had been through. He just thought that he had seen through the special relationship between him and the landlord. You little idiot, help yourself. He never thought that a marginalized person like him would have men jealous of him. Looking at the warm instant noodles of Ah Liu, he was no longer timid. He lowered the shutter door again and prepared to be affectionate with Ah Liu. But this time, he did not feel any pain or numbness. He did not want to complete the task quickly. This time, he wanted to entrust himself completely to the person he loved. At this time, there was a knock on the door. The landlord came to visit again. The two of them immediately put on their clothes and sneaked out through the back door. Palmian had never been so happy as today. The two of them ran very fast and disappeared in the blink of an eye. On the small road, Ah Liu learned about the relationship between Palmian and the landlord, but Palmian was still reluctant to mention it. He didn't want the person he liked to see his dirty side. Can you promise me not to ask? In fact, Ah Liu had already guessed the relationship between the two, so there was no need to ask too much. Then you can also promise me one thing. What is it? Stay away from him from now on, okay? Palmian really likes the way Ah Liu ate coarse food. He agreed to his request, but he didn't know that this would be the last time they would hug and kiss each other. When Ah Liu called Palmian back, he thought about it and had nothing to say. He could only say goodbye. Palmian didn't know that Ah Liu was about to be killed by his father. He just returned to the store with joy. As soon as he entered the door, he heard the familiar voice of the landlord. You called you to open the door, but you didn't open the door and left your mother alone at home, right? You are serious about worshiping him, right?
It seems that the landlord wants to make another deal with the person next to him. This time, Ah Liu has become very determined. Come in, come in, come in. Beat me to death. Do you dare? Instant Noodles fled in a dream, leaving the landlord kneeling there. He fulfilled his promise to Ah Liu, while Ah Liu also had to fulfill his promise to his father. Before his death, the father and son had a luxurious meal. However, no matter how good the food was, no one was happy. In the end, it was Ah Liu who took the initiative to break the deadlock. This was Ah Liu's first time smoking. His father knew his son was ready to go. Looking at the medals on the wall, he recalled the days and nights of his youth. At that time, Ah Liu was not yet disabled, and his wife was still alive. If he hadn't run a red light and got into a car accident, how perfect their family would have been. But life is not so perfect if people always have to give up their fantasies and accept reality. The father knew it was time to send Ah Liu on his way. His father's force was very light, but Ah Liu didn't struggle at all. He had long since accepted his fate. His father spared Ah Liu's life, but his father felt no sense of relief after Ah Liu died. Now he had no ties to rely on and could only live on in the world, waiting for cancer to consume him. Finally, his father dragged his body into the police station and turned himself in. During the time he was arrested, the world was moving at a rapid pace in the wheat shop. Palmian was preparing food for his mother. However, because Palmian refused the landlord's deal, he couldn't afford to buy salary. His mother started to make a fuss when she saw this. His mother refused to eat the food Palmian made. In order to allow his mother to eat, Palmian had to betray Ah Liu and find the landlord again. The landlord knew that Palmian could not escape his control. However, just as Palmian left the landlord, someone suddenly came.
Hey, who is it? Why is it like this? You usually take pictures. You were very good at taking pictures, right?
right? A man stabbed the landlord. He was the one who secretly filmed the video. The man was the protagonist of the video that caused the male and female protagonists to be exposed online. This landlord, who had been doing evil all his life, was finally harmed by his own evil deeds. On the other side, she hurriedly bought the salary with the 300 yuan he had just exchanged for, but when he returned home, he was hit by a heavy blow. The hungry mother had already eaten the food she cooked. It turned out that seeking the truth was not a necessity, but a trick used by the mother to show her authority and torture Instant Noodles. Although Instant Noodles saw through the mother's ugly face, he still habitually kicked out the fishbone and prepared to eat for his mother. She could not break free from this control. The mother saw that she had the upper hand and became more demanding. Eat. You are a cheap woman who likes to be fucked. Eat. Eat heaven and earth. This time, I can no longer bear to eat Instant Noodles. Salary, you like to eat. I have been taking care of the food. I have come here. Instant Noodles were fed faster and faster, and what was filled with them was not only Q-Dayu, but also deep hatred. Why did you only blame me for different things? Why did you stand there and not stop me? You only blame me for everything. Pamian was so excited that when he regained consciousness, his mother had choked to death and turned into a cold corpse. Pamian was at loss for a moment. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. It was Ah Liu. It turns out he was not dead and was just in shock. She woke up after her father left. Looking at the Instant Noodles with tears in her eyes, Ah Liu didn't know what had happened. He could only comfort his lover that even if the sky fell, she could still hold it up. Until she came into the house and saw the body of Pamian's mother, she was panicked and quickly called the police. I didn't mean it. Ah Liu knew that Pamian was afraid of going to jail. He suddenly remembered the promise he made in the toilet to become Pamian's killer. So, let's fulfill this promise today. Yes, I'll accompany you. Follow me. Ah Liu grabbed the scissors and went towards Pamian's mother's body, taking all the responsibility for the murder. This was the most courageous thing he had ever done in his life. Why did he do this? How could he do this?
Why did I do this? Because I'm a killer and I want my revenge. I kept my promise and really made a bowl of noodles for Liu. According to the girl's habit, she packed the noodles, wrote it, and waited 3 minutes before eating. After waiting 3 minutes, it would be too late. But this way, it wouldn't be the most delicious instant noodles. If the police came, I wouldn't be able to eat it. The two looked at each other in silence. There was no trace of majesty, but rather a touch of freedom. Pao Mei knew that the man sitting in front of her was the most beloved killer in the world. It was she who killed the bitterness of life and brought light to herself. Now that the killer is about to be caught, will you come to see me? Nothing was said afterwards. Yet, it spoke volumes. The two lovers saved each other once again. Ah Liu was quickly apprehended. Looking at his back, his father felt particularly relieved because he knew that Ah Liu was definitely better off in prison than outside. At least for now, he would have no worries and a roof over his head, and he could leave with peace of mind. Many years later, Pamian is in a wheelchair, not for anything else but to experience every bit of memories of Ah Liu's life and the intimate time with his lover. In Pamian's eyes, the most extreme tenderness in the world, Dear Killer is a very profound drama film in 2020. The director uses the name of the killer to talk about the reason for living. Commission, goal, and reward are the 3 elements of the killer. This is also the element of each of our lives. In the lives of Ah Liu and Pamian, these 3 elements are also replaced by desire, sustenance, and belonging. They try to piece together their own meaning of life in the cold corner of the city. The most heartbreaking part of the movie is the contradiction between wanting to live but being powerless. Everyone wants freedom but is locked in reality. In order to escape the predicament, 2 people in love tried their best and finally used extreme means to defend the bottom line and protect the last pure land for the love in their hearts. Maybe they never defeated this cold world, but at least they found a brief warmth in each other. The killer does not kill people, but the fragile, powerless, and unwilling. If we cannot understand these abstract concepts, we can just go back to the movie itself. There are many flashbacks to the gentleman Instant Noodles in the movie. Instant Noodles was born in a single-parent family, which made him a loner. He was alone in everything he did. His presence was very low, but like other people his age, he was a little vain. When he saw jewelry that he couldn't afford, Instant Noodles would secretly put it in his bag. He was even taken to the police station because of this. In this embarrassing moment, the landlord came forward to help him out. From then on, the landlord also remembered Instant Noodles. The mother tried to stop him, but she couldn't resist the landlord's gaze and the temptation of money. Just like Instant Noodles, the mother was also a victim of the landlord. The landlord was the owner of the Instant Noodles in the convenience store, and he was also the main source of income for the store. The mother acquiesced to his brutality and gradually became insane under the mental torture day after day, even putting all the pain on the Instant Noodles. The landlord also became more and more outrageous with the indulgence of the mother and daughter.
For a moment, the landlord's gaze became an irresistible order, making Pao Mian miserable. It was not until Ah Liu appeared that he finally found a ray of light in his miserable life. Like Pao Mian, Ah Liu was also a poor person at the bottom of society. Because of his flaws, he had an extraordinary desire for faith. He could easily pick up girls with yellow hats on the street and even ask for pocket money from women, but he could only wander around in this world with his neck and foot. He felt that all good things were not his. However, the moment he met the landlord, Ah Liu suddenly felt a sense of old age. Even prostitutes were unwilling to talk to him on weekdays. Now I've finally found a soulmate. Even if he's an extremely perverted old man, it doesn't matter. After all, he hasn't done anything bad to me. And, Ah Liu, it seems that this landlord is quite loyal. He made me angry, but he knew to come to me to atone for his sins. In the end, these pure evils accidentally led to a good marriage. The suffering of the lower classes made Liu and Instant Noodles feel the same. Similar shackles made the two inseparable. Liu's lame leg tied his father and mother's head frame and also clamped Instant Noodles. According to the law, as long as Ah Liu gets the solution to Instant Noodles, he will be released from prison in 15 years. I wonder if he can still remember this beloved killer by then, and whether he can go forward and give him another hug. I will share this classic with you. If you like it, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe. See you next time.